Fall in New England is a little bit unique this time of year. Somewhere between October and November, the maple trees peak, and we have this amazing show of vibrant reds, yellows, oranges, and everything that you can imagine in between. And today, I'm going to make those autumn maple trees that you just saw from a cold processed recipe and layer the design the way that you saw me do in a video from last year when we made the bluebirds back in May. In today's video, I'm going to give you a few tips on working with a thick trace cold processed soap recipe, and I'm going to give you some suggestions on which colorants that I'm using to get these vibrant popping colors that will create the treetops without going overboard and end up having that bright color wash away too heavily in the bar when you go to use it. Now you can make this out of your favorite cold process recipe if it's suitable for piping and sculpting, but if you want the full recipe for what you see here today, it is available at the link below for mermaid and siren level members in the crafters community at Thermal Mermaid. The recipe that I use for making these tree patterns focuses on getting a thick trace fast so that I can end up building that shape into the mold and then pipe over it easily. Now there isn't too much wait time, but it does help to have everything organized and prepared so that you can move along quickly when you need to. When you're creating a design and you need to rely on the trace and texture of your recipe to cooperate with what you're trying to do, the combination of oils that you choose is important, but that's not the only thing that you need to control. In these recipes, you need to carefully control the temperature of your ingredients, because if the soap becomes too hot too fast, it'll end up becoming too thick too fast, and that makes it so that you can't get your colors incorporated or your design put together. But if you're using hard butters or oils in your recipe that you want to be solid at room temperature, you can't let everything cool to room temperature because you'll get a false trace, and then you'll need to tackle that before you start your design. What we want is a soap batter that will thicken up so that we can easily spoon the soap into the mold in soft peaks. And I want it to stay that way for a few minutes so that I can take my time building the trees and then moving from color to color. To do this, make sure that the lye water solution and the oils that you're using are within 20 degrees from each other so that those molecules can combine without being shocked. A window of 100 to 110 degrees is a good temperature to aim for, and once you've blended this together, separate your soap out into 6 parts. The first 3 parts are the base of the design, and this will be the part that reflects the ground, the air, and the tree trunk. So I'll be using white titanium dioxide blended in water first before we add it into the soap, deep russet for the dark brown, and my favorite soapberry green, which will morph as you see here from a muted green and then once it cures to a nice bright leafy green. Now once these are colored and mixed in well, I'm going to give that batter just a few minutes to become more firm so that I can spoon layer it into the mold. So I do have about 2 to 5 minutes to wait, so we're going to go over here and set up our piping area. These next 3 colors, these are going to be bright red, yellow, and orange, and these are going to be mixed up and piped onto the top of the bar for the treetops. Now these colors are all micas, and they go by the names of New Tone Yellow, Eye of the Tiger Orange, and Really Red Mica, and you can find all 3 of these online with a quick Google search. Now using 1/2 teaspoon is plenty for all 3 of these to get a nice bright foliage color. Once these colors are mixed together, I'm going to transfer them into their piping bags, and then this soap will continue to firm up while it's waiting in the bag until it gets to the perfect texture so that it'll sit on the top of the bar when we pipe it over it, and it will look like a ruffled leafy treetop. Now sugar maples, they have this mottled look in the autumn when their colors begin to morph. So as we're placing this into our piping bags, one bag is going to get the yellow soap with half of the orange added into it, and the other bag is going to get the red soap with the other half of the orange layered into it. And this way we can get that yellow to orange to red morphing look as we're piping it across the project. It's time to start layering it into the bottom of the mold. And now this is not the same as the scraped design, which you may be familiar with. If you're familiar with creating images into your bars by pouring different layers of colors that firm up as you go along, and then you scrape an image across the top before you pour the next color, that will create a picture after a while. This method is completely different. Now, what I don't want to do is I don't want the soap batter to be too hard. It's not as hard as when you're going to use that scraping method, but it's just thick enough so that it sits in a soft, firm peak on the top of my spoon. And this way, this is going to be somewhat helpful when it holds its shape when I gently place the spoonful into the mold. In this image, I'm building the picture from the bottom up. Now this brown layer is the earth and of course the base of the tree. And then I'll end up giving this a layer of green grass along the sides. And then as we go up, the negative space, which is essentially just the air, is just going to be white in this case. And then that way you can see the contrast of the brown tree against the white. If you wanted, you could make it blue, or you could add in more decoration or a little bit of a sky color. But in my case, we're going to make it white, and you'll be able to see a nice, crisp, clean brown tree trunk, as the focus of the entire feature is going to be the colorful leaves anyway. Now, as I build layer after layer upward, that brown tree trunk will completely remain in the center as much as I can. And just keep in mind, this is just a little bit of an abstract art. These lines, they don't have to be perfect or crisp, and as you're building up, every single bar will be just slightly individual and different. No two tree is going to look alike when you slice these open. Now, if you'd like one of these bars for yourself once you see the finished product today, you can find all of the projects that I make here on this channel listed exclusively on the Thermal Mermaid Marketplace, specifically in the Thermal Mermaid store. Of course, these are only listed while the designs are in stock. Once they're gone, that's it. I move on to the next project. Now, if you check Thermal Mermaid out over at the Marketplace, there are currently 25 sellers, and when you browse, you can take a look at all the soap and cosmetics available from all of our community members, not just the ones that you see me make on this channel. Now, if you'd like to browse for a specific seller that you might know could be hosting their products over there, you can go find them over on the sellers page. Now, I'm going to show you a lot more about that on the next video, so stay tuned if you're interested in seeing all of the exclusive designs that you can find over listed in the Marketplace. If you want to stay up to date on each project that I'm working on, make sure that you do subscribe to this channel and hit that notification so you can see what I'm going to be bringing to you at the end of the week. And if you are a soap maker and you're interested in creating your own store to sell your items without any seller fees attached to that, then you might be interested in exploring the links below to find out more information on how you can do that as well. And once I'm happy with the base, it's time to bring over our two piping bags. Now here, I'm using the M1 piping tip from Wilton to make this texture on top. Now this is probably the most popular piping tip shape, and certainly if you're just starting out making piping textures for the tops of your designs, you'll start with the M1 shape. And it just so happens that this M1 is also perfect to get us these ruffly treetops. Now these sugar maples are going to morph from yellow to red, and the orange will be somewhere in between. And so I'm just going to build the yellow-orange color on one side of the tree, and then the orange-red color on the other side as we go down the side of the mold. And I'm just going to keep building until I have a big, fat, robust explosion of golden autumn colors. Once I get these last few touches on the top, it's time to carefully leave this alone for 24 hours And then after it's completely firm, it's time to cut each slice open and see the design that we've got on the inside. And here we have our autumn maple trees. Now by the time you see this, these have already cured for about 2 months. And if you would like to have one for yourself, you can find these autumn trees at the link below, listed exclusively in the Thermal Mermaid Marketplace, along with many other recipes and designs from the other members at Thermal Mermaid who have their soaps ready for you to explore.